Today on Jones Knows, we're going to show you how to install Pergo XP flooring.
It's so beautiful, you and me, we meant to be.
So we're going to go over the basics on how to install the Pergo XP. As you see behind me, we've already removed the carpet. Still have some of the padding stuck to the floor. So we're going to show you a little useful trick where if you don't have scrapers and all the tools that maybe an installer, professional installer would have, and you're a DIY do-it-yourselfer, let me show you a useful trick on how to remove carpet padding. Residue, not the carpet padding itself, but the residue, in which we do have a full video on carpet removal, but for now, let's show you a little useful trick. We have pieces of carpet stuck from the padding glue all over the place. So you can get on your hands and knees and try to remove these, or you can do this. We can take a flooring board with the tongue side and we can turn it into a stand-up scraper. So we're not on our hands and knees, bending over, trying to remove all the residue of the pad. So I get this up, we'll go to step 2 of getting started. Alright, so we got the floor all swept up now. And keep in mind, we're on the second floor of a home here. We have basically a plywood subfloor. So we're not going to go with a vapor barrier. If we were on the first floor with concrete, then we'd have to put a 6mm poly down underneath this product. So start out, what we're going to want to do now is to pick the longest, straightest wall, keeping in mind a few things when you're deciding the direction of the floor. Light flow. In our case, the window is behind us, so we're going to be flowing it the length of the room. The light will then go down the boards versus across all the boards. Common sense says we're going on this wall here. When you install this floor, you have to have a mallet. This is a fancy one. This is a Lixie mallet, but you can just go with a regular mallet you purchased at Home Depot. Don't get done here. I basically laid out our first 3 rows. What we want to do is, I want to put them up against the wall here. I want to take the end joint, put it in, and drop it down. We want to make sure that this is flush. Make sure you line this up flush. Don't worry about space around the perimeter yet. We're going to create that expansion after the fact. Okay, right now this wall gives us something. This wall gives us something to push up against. Okay, next board, just line it up on the end there. We can move it after. We want to get the long joint in. We can take our mallet, hit it down so that this is flat now. This needs to go down for this locking system to engage. Same thing with your end joint, in, and you have to wiggle it a little bit sometimes to get it to go in all the way, but down. Okay. Once you get going, this does get a little bit easier. On your first rows though, it's a little bit challenging. That's why we're using the wall to keep the floor from moving around. I've seen other videos where they start out in the middle of the room, but then you're having a hard time keeping your floor in place. Use the wall to push up against. Slightly lift up on this board. Now, this is the end joint. We don't want to start there. We want to start from this end. By starting at the far end of the board and not the end joint and hitting it in, it seems weird, but it will keep your end joint from opening. Very, very important tip. If I would have started putting my long joint in from this end here, chances are this would have spread open on me when I worked my way down. Okay, same thing on the next row. There. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put our end joint in. Then we lift up, starting from the far end down here. We'll use our mallet and just hit the tongue. Don't worry about it, hit the tongue. And that's how we get started with Pergo. You're going to repeat this step until you get to the far end of the wall. Once we get to the far end, I'm going to quickly show you how we make an end cut, and then you can get started. Now we've got to the far end of the floor. So now we have our cuts we need to make. So, do I pull out a tape measure? No, I do not. Take that tape measure and put it away for now. Wait till you're doing the base or the trim. For now, we just need a board and a pencil. Okay. Notice our tongues are running this way. We're going to take this board that we want to put here. We're going to do it the opposite. Tongue against tongue. Put it there. Keep in mind, our floor is tight against that wall. So we don't want to make an exact cut here. Let's leave a ½ inch so we can an ample amount of expansion, but let's do 2 at a time. Same thing, a ½ inch. Alright. You're going to want to not use the skill saw that they say. Those are dangerous to use. You're going to want to either use a laminate cutter, which are pretty inexpensive to buy nowadays, or invest in a chop saw because you'll need it for the base or trim. Even though I only need the end pieces, we're going to take all 4 pieces back, the 2 other halves, because those halves now become starters for that end of the floor. Never have any waste if the piece that you make your cut with, the piece that comes off of that, always goes to that end. You'll have 0 waste from end cuts. So now let's put the last boards in, and we'll complete these rows. Once we put these boards in, the rows will be completed, then we'll show you what to do. Wiggle it in so you get your end joint nice and tight. Wiggling it will work it in, but make sure you're even on this cut here. This needs to be even. We do that, we do our next board. Lift up ever so slightly, start at that end. Remember, even once you get it in, you still want to hit this board down. So let's recap what we do. We get the end joint in, then use our mallet to get the long joint in, but we don't start on this side here. We start at the far end of the board, work our way down, and we put this part of the end joint in last. Okay, so we've got our starter rows in. I'm not going to put the third one in because you get the idea. I want to keep this video brief. So now we're in. Now you see we have an ample amount of space here. We're tight up against the wall there. Real simple. This is why I love floating floors. Look at that. the kick of the foot, we've already corrected, and we have spacing on the ends now. We want to have a 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/4 inch, 3/8, a little less than a 1/2 inch. Well, you're going to know how thick your trim is. You don't want to be any thicker than the trim you're putting around. The more space you leave, the better, especially if bigger rooms need more space. Smaller rooms you can get by with closer to 1/4 inch or maybe even less. But remember, space expansion problems are eliminated by leaving ample amount of space. We have our space on the ends. Now we just need to put on the long joint. We're going to pull it off the wall. Going to stick a board in. Now you can go to town and get to work on it. That's how we get started with Pergo. If you liked it and you want to see more videos like this and this was helpful, please subscribe and like us. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope this was helpful.
It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.